Good evening. My name is Dean Minnick. We're here at the Manchester Mayoral and Council Candidate Forum. We have the council behind us for a moment. We're getting ready to go have a little chat with our mayoral candidates. We'll start with a self-introduction, and we'll start with Tammy Black on the right.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Tammy Black. Thank you all for being here and obviously having such a great importance for our town's leadership. I've been married to Ken for 26 years, for as long as I've lived in Manchester. Prior to that, I was a resident in Millers, so I've been familiar with the community basically all my life. We have 3 daughters who were also raised here, and we've been a part of the local community in all kinds of volunteer opportunities, from church to the fire departments to schools, planting flowers, and so on and so forth. I'm also a registered nurse of 17 years. I'm an employee of Carroll Hospital Center, and I run a community health center called Access Carroll, and we provide a lot of services for folks who are considered low income and utilize a lot of volunteerism and have a lot of experience working with volunteers and other leaders in the community. I have a bachelor's degree in nursing, in the science of nursing, and I also have postgraduate studies from Baker College in business administration. I'm involved in a number of community affiliations and boards, and just to name a few, I'm a part of the Manchester Area Merchants Association, the Access to Healthcare Leadership Team of the Partnership for a Healthier Carroll County. I'm on the Circle of Caring Homelessness Board, the Community Services Council, the Carroll County Transportation Advisory Council, the Department of Social Services Board, and the Maryland Access Point Board for our seniors in the community. I have several areas that I'm focusing on as running for mayor of Manchester that I believe are passionately important to our towns both now and future. First is safety and the health of the town. Manchester is proud to be one of the safest communities in the region, and I plan to keep it that way. The safety of our community will be accomplished by supporting a well-positioned police department to get ahead of crime, while also supporting county-wide efforts to reduce drug-related crimes and activities. Traffic is also a major concern of Manchester, and I've continued to advocate to the State Highway Administration for the last 3 years and will keep doing so for better traffic solutions. The infrastructure is also a major concern. I believe one of our most precious resources is water. We need it for life, and I believe in our clean water supply. I'm extremely proud of the men and women who serve our town and right now are working to keep that water service going. I want to ensure the ongoing efficiency and maintenance of our water services and the sewer infrastructure, both now and in the future, for operations. Collaborating and planning for stormwater management is also a highlighted issue for me, and I've been trying to keep up on these issues on statewide levels as they impact our local town. Supporting repair and upkeep of roads is also a major focus. Also, I'm concerned about building a bright future. I believe in leadership, I believe in partnerships, I believe in collaborating, and I believe in looking for resources both inside and outside the town to strengthen who we are and what we are going to be in the future. You know, we've got about approximately 5,000 men, women, and children who live in this community now and are dependent upon all the services that we're providing. We've also got thousands of people who come to our parks and our businesses annually. So as a part of the Sustainability Task Force over the last 2 years, I seek responsible growth that maintains Manchester's small town charm while offering the highest quality public and recreational services. Further, I plan to empower our community businesses and leaders to create innovative solutions to ensure our town, Manchester, is beautiful, safe, and thriving in multiple ways. Thank you.
Good evening. Before I get started, I'd like to again thank the Carroll Media Center and Commissioner Dean Minnick for hosting us, and for each of you for taking an active interest in the direction of our community over the next 4 years. My name is Ryan Warner. I'm the current mayor of Manchester and have been for the past 4 years. Prior to that, I served 12 years on the council, 8 of those as council vice president. I've been living in Manchester since 1996, been married for 16 years. My wife Lisa is a teacher at Ebb Valley Elementary. I currently have 3 children. I say currently, I don't no plans to have any additional ones. Unless there's going to be an awkward conversation tonight. They're all here in the local schools. I have an undergraduate degree from Towson University in economics. I'm a certified public accountant. I'm a small business owner in the field of accounting and consulting. In addition, I am an active member of several boards, not quite as many as Councilwoman Black, but I'm a founding member of the Manchester Valley Advisory Council. I'm on the board of the North Carroll Area Rec Council, and I'm the current president for the last 5 years and a 10-year volunteer with the North Carroll Titans football and cheer organization. So I look forward to the next hour or so in going over what we've done, where we're going to go in certain areas, including government efficiency, public safety, and open government. But the real reason I'm running for the next 4 years as mayor is as simple as I am committed and invested to this community. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be someplace else. And I want to be a direct, active part in the success of this community, not just for the next 4 years, but the next 4 years as mayor and on to the future. So the real question for the voters is, given the successes that we've had and the successes that you heard during the council debate, do we want to continue with the current leadership team and continue on the path of success and cooperation and partnership that we've seen? Or does it make sense to roll the dice and try a new leadership team and see where that goes? So I ask for your vote on May 19th, and I hope I have your support. Thank you.
My name is Christopher Lee Tomlinson, and I'm running for mayor here in Manchester. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. We have a full house, actually. This is impressive. The town is currently governed by apathy. The current administration thrives on the fact that the majority of our residents don't know what's going on in town, nor do they have an interest in knowing what's going on in town. If anybody attends our normal council meetings, there's normally, by far, way more elected officials and town employees than there are actual residents sitting in attendance, and that is sad. There are also, 4 years ago, during our last mayoral election in 2011, there was 295 people that came out and chose our mayor out of 3,200 registered voters. Those are some pretty sad numbers. But the good news is that is changing, clearly, by just looking around here. We have a full room. We actually have had a good discussion going on so far. We've had people asking questions, people wanting to know about the issues, and that is a good thing for all of us up here, that people actually want to know what's going on. And I'm glad to see that's turning around. For the past many months, I've knocked on a lot of doors. I've met over 1,000 voters. I attend the Mama meetings regularly. I've met dozens of business owners. And I can say that what I've gathered, our residents want a new leader who's going to foster in business development, somebody who's going to lead the fight in prescription drug abuse and the heroin problem, and also hold the line on taxes and our spending. And if you elect me as your mayor, I plan to do all of that, and I want to make this town not just a great town, but a better town.
Thank you, sir. We have a list of questions that have been prepared by a community of people, and I'll start with some of those, and then we'll switch off to some questions that have come into us by email, by people who aren't here, perhaps couldn't be here, and then we'll have some questions from people in the audience, and I encourage anybody that would like to stand up and take the microphone that if you get the same respect and conviviality that everyone else has gotten this evening, you should not be afraid of doing that. Experience seems to be a lot more critical a question for a position, an executive position, as opposed to a council position. Most of the questions that have come in by email and some of the questions on the list have to deal with that. So let's get right down to it. If elected as mayor, you're ultimately responsible for a $4.2 million budget, which impacts a population of 5,200 residents. A, please give the viewing audience and those here in the room your experience working with budgets of this size or anything like it. And B, being a taxpayer and water sewer customer, would this impact your decision-making process? And we'll start with you, Mr. Tomlinson.
Thank you. My experience as far as working with budgets. I graduated from college at just about the worst time that anybody could graduate from college or about to start out on your own. 2008, 2009 was, as everybody knows, just about the worst, I think pretty much most of us have seen in the economy in our lives, and that was just as I was graduating college. So not only was I being hit with, some beautiful student loans from Sallie Mae and the rest of them, but I also was, tasked with finding employment. With that comes a lot of being able to manage your budget. It was not easy. At one point, I was laid off from my job, and that took a lot of focus on being able to manage my own budget. And I may not have experience with working with $4 million budgets, but then again, who does? But I do have experience with being able to work with what I got and working within my means. And then the second part of the question was whether being a taxpayer and paying for water, whether that would, help determine how you would make a vote. Yes, absolutely. I don't know why I would make that decision any other way. I mean, I think that I would make that for everybody here. I'd make that for all the residents that I make for myself. I would make all decisions based on as I am a taxpayer. And I don't know why anybody would think any other way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you asked who does have experience working with $4 million budgets. That are, that come from the pockets of 4,000 or 5,000 people, because I do. I've sat in numerous meetings over the past 16 years. I've been a part of 16 Manchester Town Council budget processes. All of them balanced budgets. Over the past 4 years, one of the most important duties of the mayor is that the mayor submits a budget to the town council for approval. Over the last 4 years, I've submitted 4 balanced budgets, each of which included 0 property tax increases. During the council debate, you heard of some of the nuts and bolts of how challenging that can be, the number of people that play into that, including town staff, the other elected officials, department heads. And it's not an easy task. There's a lot of late nights. We're here at 10 p.m. going over, is this estimate fair? And, what is health insurance going to look like for our employees over the next year? What should we budget for this department for gasoline? What's our best estimate of what that's going to be? So it's not just, hey, this should be less and this should be more. No one likes taxes. We all pay taxes, or at least most of us do. And, but the job of the mayor is to submit the best budget they can and to work with the council, with the department heads to be as efficient as we can, right? So I think that the way that I view our job and as we begin each budget cycle is, we have to determine the number of services that we're going to provide and versus not provide, because there's wants and needs. And then what are those going to cost? We're charged with doing that as efficiently as possible. And then we all split it, right? That's how we do it. So we're all in a community. We've agreed to live here together. And, that's the budget process. In addition, I know I have a couple of seconds left. As a business owner, a member of the Rec Council, and again, 16 years of family budgeting, I feel like I'm qualified to serve the next 4 years as mayor.
I, too, have quite a lot of experience working with large budgets. I've also been a part of the process that Mayor Warner has already described of the past 4 years, being a part of submitting those balanced budgets and not raising property taxes, which has been a very important, task of all of us sitting on the council. There's been some challenging times, and I will tell you that operating costs don't stay fixed in a town. So we've had to really learn how to be fiscally responsible. We've leaned a lot on the wisdom of the town staff, of the folks who are doing the everyday work, of what can be modified, what can be maintained, what can be held over, how we can mitigate issues, how we can work together to create innovative solutions. There's a lot of pieces to that budgeting process. And so, again, I feel very comfortable moving in a leadership position as mayor over the next 4 years from a council, seeing that process and moving forward, even as we tackle a new capital project for the town hall and police station. So speaking of that, I also have a lot of experience dealing with budgets in my job, in my business. So at Access Carroll, I've also raised pretty much solely by myself $1.7 million to do a capital renovation project, and I just raised another $600,000 for a Phase 2 capital renovation project by donations from the community and by writing a lot of grants, submitting reports, and collaborating with local and state officials on these processes. I believe in building bridges, of communicating, of being honest and transparent, letting people know what's before us, and coming up with solutions that we can work together to make things happen. To answer the second part of that question, yeah, we pay a water bill every month. And actually, you know what? I'm glad I do, because I'm using clean water. I'm drinking clean water. I'm able to flush my commodes. The sewer system works. The infrastructure works. When Steve presents a challenge to the council and to the mayor about how we're going to be fixing and dealing with the problems at hand, we come up with those answers.
Thank you. We'll start this time with Mayor Warner. The question is, the comprehensive plan for the town of Manchester is planned for an update over the next year based on water supply needs, wastewater capacity, and adequate facilities needs. What land uses changes, if any, would you like to see as mayor?
What land use changes? So I think maybe we'll start with,
If any, it said.
if any. So the comprehensive plan, which I've been a part of in the past, is an invaluable planning tool for the town. So I think it's important, as we begin to kind of say what that is. So we always need to keep an eye on the horizon. Commissioner Minnick in the question said, looking at water, sewer, and it would include other infrastructure items. I don't know if you listed another, but that would include roads, schools, so on and so forth. In the past, we've faced some pretty grave challenges in terms of running out of water. During a time when some of the communities that some of us now live in were built, we didn't have adequate schools. So before Manchester Valley and before Ebb Valley, most of us had children going to schools that were overcrowded and in portables. Specifically to any land use changes of items that are out there, I really think it needs to go through the process. So it wouldn't solely be up to me to advocate for one particular piece of land, saying that this is no longer appropriate to be R40 or 1 acre lots or R20 with half acre lots, and this should be business local. I think that we should go through the process and look at land adjacent to some of our major highways and intersections, and whether or not that land should be zoned business local or is more appropriate to be residential. But again, that is something that should go through the process, and I don't think should be subject to the determination of any one person.
Thank you. Ms. Black.
I agree with a lot of what Mayor Warner had to say. I've served on the Planning and Zoning Commission now in Manchester for almost the last 2 years, and I've learned a lot in that process. And I've really had a lot of respect for the land usage, residential and commercial, how the town is best utilizing our resources, how we're enabling residents to build homes, commercial builders to come in, how we're going to be supporting our businesses with their growth initiatives and plans. I think it's important that we do have a collaborative process in place. I don't feel that it is my place to make an independent decision for land usage, but I believe in pulling together our resources, pulling together leaders and business owners and residents to come up with shared solutions and best usage practices. I would also explore ways that we can look at other best practices from other towns, adjoining neighborhoods, things that have worked and maybe not worked, lessons learned, and so forth. It's important that we look at the big picture. The comprehensive plan is very important, and so is the sustainability plan. So with all those pieces put together, I think it's good to have both a right now kind of outlook as well as looking 20 years into the future. How will this impact our children's children? How will this impact schools? How will it impact education, business, road development, and so forth? So there's a lot of pieces that go into land usage. It's not just a quick and fast decision that likely should be made.
Thank you. Mr. Tomlinson.
Over the past decade, we have seen a lot of good growth here in town. We've seen new churches pop up. We have, great big church there in St. Bartholomew's. Seen 2 new wonderful schools in Ebb Valley and Manchester Valley pop up. We've obviously seen more residential development with Haley Hill Farms, and with the continuation and growth of Manchester Farms. But the one thing that we don't seem to see any growth in is our business community, which seems to be stagnant at best. If I agree with Mayor Werner and Council Person Black that no individual should, dictate what we do with land. But if we as a mayor and council and town were to get behind anything, I would say it would be to try to help the business community, because that is, like I said, the one field I think that our town is a bit lacking in. I think our town could do a lot to help support the business community, established businesses, as well as potential new entrepreneurs. And there's a lot we could do as far as that, as far as clearing up and updating our permits and how we issue them, as far as doing everything from helping our community leaders and business leaders with getting loans and grants that we have access to that we have not taken advantage of. These are all things that come apart that I believe the town could do a much greater job of supporting. And if I was to get behind anything as far as the use of our land, it would be to try to get some more businesses in here, because I think we could use that.
Okay. Question number 12 on this list, I'm going to combine it with another question based on what I've heard from your answers so far. As an elected official of the town of Manchester, what's your position on transparency and accountability in government? And having said that, do you have what some people in politics call a kitchen cabinet? People who are your number one advisors who may not be out in the forefront, but work behind the scenes quite a bit in order to get things done. If you do, would you tell us what value that is, and if possible, tell us what kind of influences there are there? And we'll start with, who do we start with this time? We start with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I need all the help I can get.
All right. I'm so glad you asked the question about transparency and accountability. I strongly believe in that, and I advocate for a team that supports that and work together on being very open in communication, transparent on all points and issues, and being able to be accountable for the decisions that are made. There is some very important aspects of building a strong team and working together as a community. Listening to some of the comments that were said of the council forum, we look at all the different wonderful gifts and talents that are residing right here in Manchester. And I think a leader's job is to harvest those gifts and talents for the good of the whole. And finding out, what does this leader have to say? What does this business owner have to say? What does this resident have to say? And how can we make those things happen and educate and communicate effectively? As far as the kitchen cabinet, as far as my experience being here in the town of Manchester on the council, I really lean towards the expertise of those who serve as staff and those who have served already, who have already worked so hard for many, many years. Read the historical documents. Look at the people who have laid the foundations of time. Learn from their experiences. I certainly believe in receiving counsel from wise people. I believe in reaching out to other municipalities, to other leaders. I believe in reaching out to those far extending within the state and beyond. How can we come up with solutions to problems and implement those things here locally in Manchester?
Okay. Mr. Tomlinson.
Thank you. I absolutely believe in open communication. I believe I have done nothing but have open communication and bring a lot of topics out to the spotlight that I think some individuals probably didn't want to be brought up. Things like, for instance, discussion of speed cameras that some was thrown out the window as a non-issue, but it's not a non-issue. It was brought up at a council meeting, and I feel that that's something that the public would like to know. I believe in making sure everybody is aware of everything that is going on in the town. If I was elected, I would like to bring back our newsletter, which now is only sent via email. And if there's one thing I've seen going door to door, it's that nobody is aware of many of the things as small as bulk trash pickup day, because they do not receive the letter anymore unless you get it in email. So yes, I would 100% be behind better communication. As far as do I have a group of advisors or a cabinet? I have been lucky enough to have a lot of good advisors. I come from a campaign background. I've worked with many successful campaigns, including Delegate Haven Shoemaker's campaign, Larry Hogan, who is our new governor, his campaign. A lot of the same people that helped get those great men into their positions are helping me, and I am very grateful for that. And as far as having a team, I have a lot of good relationships with a lot of our county leaders, pretty much the entire delegation, from our state senator to our delegates. I have a good relationship with our commissioners, our state's attorney, our sheriff. I've worked with all of these individuals over the past many years, and I've have great relationships with them, and they have been wonderful with helping me, and advising me with this whole campaign, and obviously, if I were to win, helping me as mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Warner.
So I'll echo a few comments on open government. Obviously, everyone is going to say at this point they believe in open government. I believe over the last 4 years we've demonstrated that we do believe and practice open government. Over the last 4 years, we brought back, meaning our current team brought back Maryland Municipal League training on open government. I personally took the training. I'm a graduate of the University of Maryland Academy for Excellence in Local Government. The finance director and town administrator also took trainings on open government, just to ensure that everything that we do is as transparent and open as possible. There are items that happen, what I'll say is not in an open session, so that would include things such as a contract negotiation or a personnel issue, things that really are going to be the kind of things that at your business wouldn't be open. Government plays by different rules, and we do things out in the open. And over the last 4 years, I haven't heard one complaint that we've done something behind closed doors, because we haven't. Again, I'm glad that you brought up speed cameras and mailers. You were kind enough to mention that what you heard was in an open meeting, so therefore I think it fits into this discussion. There was an editorial out there. It was something that we looked into as part of a traffic control solution. It's not something that was implemented. It's not something that was funded in a budget. But again, if we're not considering options and looking at things, then we're not really doing, what we're supposed to be doing. So, in closing on this question, I guess I'll say I don't have a kitchen cabinet in the sense of what Commissioner Minnick is saying. I think that my real value as mayor and my real value over the next 4 years as mayor is my ability to build a team. And that is a team of people that aren't looking over their shoulders, that are empowered to do their jobs. And then anyone on that team, up to including town staff, town department heads, members of the council, the town administrator in particular, the town finance director, and the police chief, we have a very great working relationship where we communicate constantly and collaborate in order to drive the town forward as productively as possible.
Thank you. There's another question that's really not on the list, but I think it's implied by several of the questions here. I'm going to rephrase a couple of these questions. What's more important in terms of good management? The control of residential growth or the control and development of commercial and industrial growth? What's more important? And I guess we start first with Mr. Warner, I think, this time. No. You start. No, you started first last time. It's Mr. Warner. Your turn.
So the question is, what's more important, controls around residential growth or controls around commercial growth?
If you had to make a choice between your priorities, and you had you were to go after or to withdraw from one or the other, what are your priorities in terms of residential growth versus industrial and or commercial growth?
So I see that as a real left-hand, right-hand issue, and that's kind of the way that you described it. And it's not more or less important to take your hand off either one of those. They really need to be done in unison. And the reason is they have different outcomes and different benefits and costs to the citizens and businesses that are already here. So every home that comes in, and it's not news that Manchester is largely a bedroom community. It's the community that we live in. But homes, as they come in over time, will cost more in tax revenue than they're able to provide, at least under our current structure. Businesses, on the other hand, will provide more tax revenue than they take. The challenge in Manchester is that we don't have the given infrastructure, meaning the roads, right? So we'll have challenges. Hampstead was able to attract Fuchs Chemical Company. We don't have the sewer capacity here currently in Manchester for a large establishment like that. The cost estimate, and it's not that we haven't looked into it, the cost estimate from the state would be in the $10 to $15 million range just to build a sewer treatment plant that would be able to handle that sort of facility. So to ask the 5,000 citizens here to forward fund a $10 or $15 million project just isn't feasible. So what we can do is continue to make Manchester a better place, to make our Main Street a better place, to make it a more desirable location to live, work, shop, and spend time in, and that will in turn help the business development growth downtown. On the residential side, we need to keep in much tighter controls, and I think controls was the question, around what our infrastructure is. So we have an adequate facilities ordinance that I was part of developing a number of years ago that rates all of our current infrastructure on schools, roads, traffic, water, sewer, police, and fire. And then, if any of those fall out of line, there needs to be a plan to address those before any residential development can move forward.
Thank you.
So to echo a lot of what Mayor Warner has said, he's right on many of the points about the revenue potentials from residential growth and commercial growth. And so we've worked hard to actually look at those items as we're balancing a budget over the last 4 years. I would say that if I had to make a management call on the control of residential versus commercial, there would have to be a lot of weighing in on what's happening in our comprehensive plan, in our strategic plan, on what's going to benefit largely the community at large. Right now, we do have mostly residential properties. How are business growth plans going to impact residents? How's it going to impact the already kind of disturbing and problematic traffic patterns? How are all these things going to be impacting schools? How are these things going to be impacting the infrastructure, which is something that's I think we need to be very closely watching and being sensitive to, because these things do have to be maintained and they have to be planned for efficiency and for maintenance over years to come. So we have to look at kind of the pros and cons to each area. Again, I would also lean very highly on the council of our community. During planning and zoning, we look at these items. We lean on the comments in the council of those who are coming forward. And so being a good manager is weighing in all the sides, looking at the big picture, looking at how it's going to impact today, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, and receiving counsel appropriately from outside the community as well.
Thank you. Mr. Tomlinson.
I agree with Mayor Werner when he says that more businesses mean a larger commercial tax base, which is exactly true, and that's exactly why if I were to get behind whether residential growth or business growth, 100% business growth, we've seen our neighborhoods grow and grow and grow, and I'm comfortable with where we are at. Where we are lacking, though, is business growth. If we're able to attract more businesses and have a larger commercial tax base, that's less that the town has to rely on you and I, the individual, to pay for their bills. There's a good reason why we don't have Fuchs Spice Company looking in Manchester to lay ground. And the reason why is because we hear that there is not enough water, that we don't have adequate sewer system. But at the same time, we continue to see residential growth continue to grow. Even as I speak, we're currently they're working on Manchester Farm 7, so we're still building more houses in town. Besides Miller's Market, the largest employer in town is the town. That's not probably the greatest thing to have. Everything from small business to possibly larger manufacturers in town to help give jobs and to help bring in the tax base, I think is absolutely needed. And while we're on the topic of business, I think one of the main things that we need to get accomplished is the Sheetz expansion project, which has been in the works for 7 years. I assume we all probably go to Sheetz and get our gas there, or at least attempt to get our gas there in that maze or circus, you want to call it. And it's not easy. And the reality, or the fact is, it's been in the works for 7 years to build a new Sheetz. And I see a lot of fingers pointing at each other as to who's to blame for the holdup. But if elected mayor, that is one of the things I will focus on, is getting the Sheetz project completed.
Thank you. One thing that I failed to do is tell you, I guess I assumed that you knew that you had the opportunity to offer rebuttal during your answers to questions. Since I forgot to tell you that, let's take a moment now before we go to the next stage. And if there is any particular rebuttal that any one candidate has about any one thing that has been said tonight, let's spend up to 2 minutes per candidate on that, unless you all three agree to waive it.
Is this a rebuttal on anything that's happened?
Anything that's been spoken here at the forum.
I'd like to provide a rebuttal to the Sheets comment.
You first.
Okay. So I came into the town council 4 years ago. The Sheets project was already underway. And from what I understand, I was initially very frustrated that the project was ongoing and what's happening. And I spent a lot of time talking with our town administrator and the staff and learning about the process of what's been going on. And I will tell you that I appreciate the wisdom and the counsel that has been exerted in this area because it has saved our water supply. We have been monitoring the water. MDE has been closely looking at possible leaks and leaks that have been identified that needed to be dealt with by Sheets before any future planning could be made because we need to protect our water. And so right now, that process is moving forward. They have done a great job dealing with the problem and moving forward on multiple areas. The town is very supportive of the Sheets project moving forward, but now they're also looking at some landlock issues. So we talk about business growth and development and looking at expanding businesses, but I would pose the question of where would one build a new business in Manchester? And how would that be accomplished? Let's just say we have the best water and wastewater infrastructure in the whole county. Where would a business possibly build in certain areas that are going to be attracting the main pool of traffic coming through the town, largely through Route 30? So I'm looking at these options as well. We want the best for the town. I want the best for the town. There's also some opportunities that are happening right now with other leaders beyond Manchester who would have some say in this expansion project. And we are very supportive of those continued negotiations and collaborations occurring.
Thank you. Do you have a rebuttal to something other than her rebuttal? We need to keep this civil. The rebuttal to the rebuttal could go on all night. Do you have a rebuttal to anything else that was said this evening so far?
So no rebuttals to rebuttals?
Right. Okay. Mayor.
I promise to stay under 2 minutes if you want to start. And a lot of what I'll say, just on the Sheets project, I've been in numerous Sheets meetings. I don't believe that Mr. Tomlinson has. I know that Councilman Black has, and we've been in some of the same meetings. To give a very brief, I'll say, history on that, the Sheets project, came in a number of years ago, and they were halted by MDE because they were leaking MTBE into the groundwater. So they were halted, again, by a state government agency because they were leaking poison into water that the rest of us need to drink and brush our teeth and give to our kids. So for us to step in and try to drive that project forward over top of a state agency that's doing their best to make sure that our groundwater is not poisoned would have been highly irresponsible. As time went on, and they've mediated to MDE's satisfaction that groundwater issue, Sheets makes their own calls. They're a private company. We can't tell them what to do. So if they choose not to push forward with something for their own business reasons, that's on them. Recently, Sheets has shown some interest in coming back around and has shown some interest in being a good partner with some of the neighbors, like the Gary Professional Center. The town has worked closely with both the Gary Professional Center, with the adjacent property owners, up to and including the Carroll County Public Schools, to improve that site in a manner which will be good for everybody: the town, traffic flow, neighboring businesses, the public school system, and Sheets. So that's where that project stands. I'm hopeful that it will move forward, but simply making a claim that a new person would have pushed that forward 7 years ago or has some special talent to push that forward now just simply isn't true.
Mr. Tomlinson, you will have an opportunity to, as will the others, to have final statements for the evening. If you want to work something into that time period, fine. That will make it equal. You have already had remarks on this issue, which prompted the rebuttal, so I think it's fair to keep it to 3 comments on it, and we'll move on to the next stage here. Now, next stage is...
Excuse me, sir. In all fairness, we each are, Mayor Warner and Councilperson Black did get, chance to talk about the initial issue and then get 1 rebuttal each. Shouldn't I get a rebuttal?
You will, when you'll have a chance. You were the one that brought up the specific issue to which they rebutted, okay? They did not comment on those specific issues. You will have a chance to comment again when we have the final. I have some questions here that have been mailed in from some of the residents. I have to be candid with you. I am going to edit these a little bit because of the nature of some of them. I don't want to get arrested. But let me synopsize, if I may, without stomping all over the rights of people to call in with their questions. I'll just get to the nature of things. That's somebody's pal. We've addressed the issue of the transparency. Is there anything in the past of any of the candidates for mayor, and each one of you will give an answer to this, that would be an embarrassment in your mind, or could be an embarrassment in the minds of voters in an elected official that has not been, addressed so far this evening? And I think we'll start with you, Mr. Tomlinson.
Like everybody who lives in Maryland, all of our records are open to the public and anybody can easily view them. Because I am a bit younger, obviously, any failures I have had in my life are fairly more recent than maybe some other individuals. Do I have some past failures in my life? Yes, I do. Have I learned and have I grown from them? Yes. Do I think I should be judged, and do I think my entire life should be judged upon things I may have done in my youth? No, I don't think. If I've been able to move on and become a better person, I think that the residents of Manchester can accept that.
Thank you. Mr. Warner.
I'm not aware of anything. So, I've never been arrested. Before or after judicial case search, I guess if that's what the question is.
That's
2000, that's my answer.
Okay. Mrs. Black.
I had a speeding ticket when I was 16, and I think it was 4 years ago, driving to Ocean City. An officer pulled me over, and there was something wrong with the vehicle. So we talked about that, but I've never been arrested, I can't think of anything.
Okay. Just one final question from, and this one, because I'm not synopsizing from several people, I'll use the specific name on this one. Jill Murphy, Bachman Court. She doesn't have it addressed to any specific candidate. Why do you want to be the mayor of Manchester? What experience do you have in Manchester town politics or government? And we'll start with Mayor Warner on that one.
Sure, I think it's a great question, and a lot of which I think was probably covered in some of the openings, will be covered again in the closings. So my experience is I've been an elected member of the town council or as mayor for the past 16 years, 4 as mayor, 12 on the town council. I was also a member of the Manchester Planning and Zoning Commission for 12 years. And quite simply, and I don't know how to say it any other way than this, is that I'm invested in this community. I care about this community. My kids go to school here. I plan to stay here. I'm not looking to run for another public office. This is what I want to do. If the voters don't want me to do this, then I'll have peace with that, but I'll continue to help in whatever fashion seems to be most appropriate at the time. What I feel driven to do and what in my heart I want to do is to continue to serve in this capacity for the next term. I think that we've been successful. I think that we can continue to be successful together. And I hope that, a majority of the citizens agree with me.
Thank you. Mrs. Black?
Well, as I stated in the beginning, I've been in this town, or on the outside of this town, my entire life. My husband's family has been in this town for 175 years. Many of you might be living on the old farm that they used to farm. Ebb Valley School is now also, that's on the old farm. There's a lot of history here that matters a lot to me and my family and my husband's family. I care and I love this town. I care about the future. I care about what happens today. I want to see people happy and prospering and healthy. I want to see people working together and being collaborative. I believe that a leader, like I said earlier, it learns about what's there before him or her, finding out about the gifts and talents that are there, and investing in the empowerment of people to use those gifts and talents to help everybody. I believe in volunteerism. I believe in recruiting volunteers. I believe in working together. And at the end of the day, working hard and saying, wow, look what we accomplished. There's so many beautiful and wonderful things about Manchester. I could write a paper on Manchester. Maybe one day I'll do that. But I'll tell you, there's just a wealth of history, a wealth of wonderful people here, wonderful businesses, homegrown businesses. It's very charming. And I'm looking forward to improving Manchester. I'm looking forward to serving as a servant leader. I believe in putting my hands to the plow with everybody and getting down there and investing in the work that's before us.
Thank you. We have 2 more stages to go, and then we'll be... Okay. Sorry.
Still
Thank
here.
you.
Why do I want to be mayor? I want to be mayor because this is where I live. I have lived in the North Carroll area since I was 6 years old, so practically my entire life. I went to North Carroll High School. I went to North Carroll Middle School before there was ever a Manchester Valley or before there was ever a Shiloh. I have spent just as much of my life here in Manchester as I may have in other parts of the North Carroll area. I worked here. I have just as many friends here as anywhere, and this is where I live, and I want to see this town become the best it can be. Is it a good town? Yes, absolutely. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. Anybody that thinks, that there's no room for improvement, then I don't know why you're here. But I've seen our neighboring towns continue to grow and flourish, and I believe that, in certain ways, we have slightly fallen behind. As far as my experience goes, I've been active in the community for many years. I'm a member of the Limeboro Manchester Lions Club, which does a lot of great work for the community, including the baseball fields and the community pool. I'm on the Board of Zoning Appeals up here at the town. I have also, since high school, I worked on the Hampstead train station. For those who are familiar with it, I put in hundreds and hundreds of hours in my youth there when other people may have been doing more fun things in their early teenage years. But I was up there helping put together an old train station. I've always been a part of this community, and I've always wanted to help the community. And I don't see any better way than to, help bring this community into 2015 than with some new leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for almost bypassing you. It's time now for the questions from the audience. Would anybody in the audience like to ask a question? No.
I guess I will.
Would you step to the microphone, please, and give your name?
Yes.
You are a resident of Manchester?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, Ed 1, 2977, Lodi Drive. Now, candidates, this question is particular to one that I have interest in. I've met a couple of you. I understand a couple of you. I don't understand why. Kind of envy you for trying to run for mayor, this mayor's position.
Can
But
you
our-
speak right into the microphone, please?
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Thompson, I understand and I appreciate you wanting to run for mayor. What I don't understand is why. Okay, as a matter of public record, you've mentioned you've been arrested before. Okay, so public record shows that, and this is public record. DUI, driving on a suspended license. But your Facebook page, which troubles me, being a father of a teenage girl, you were a self-proclaimed president of the Dynasty Club, which is the underage sex club that was in North Carroll. And North Carroll's in Hampstead. Okay? The topics in this county that are important to me as a parent as well as a business owner include heroin abuse, underage drinking, sex parties, DUI, and alcohol-related violence. With your background, which seems very contradictory, how do you specifically plan to address these issues? And then the candidates, and to be fair to you guys, I would like to ask you how you plan to address these issues. I know we have a great history or current record now of how the police department is doing for the well-being, but having this candidate here, which I feel is lacking of experience as a parent, I am very concerned. So I want you guys to answer the question as well, just to show fairness. But specifically because you are going for public office, this is all public record, so this is not trying, I'm not trying to be scandalous. I want your answer.
As far as such a thing as the dynasty, if you're referring to a organized men's softball team, then sure.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. By the way, I have stepkids that went to high school with you, so just remember that. Go ahead.
You've asked your question, now let him answer, please. Go ahead.
As far as what part do you want me to address? Whether I have involvement or whether my thoughts or feelings?
It's your platform right now. You have 2 minutes.
I don't know anything about.
What is the time left?
Who is moderating?
I am the moderator, and I really don't want to step on people's rights to ask the question, but once the question has been asked, you have to answer the question, he has to be allowed to answer the question, but we're not going to have a back and forth argument start up in here tonight involving the entire room on the basis of a question. Okay, I'm just for the edification of everybody in the room, this is not going to turn into one of those kinds of meetings. I had enough of those when I was a county commissioner. So you've been asked a question. It's one of those kinds of questions that do come up with candidates who run for public office. Some other questions were in here. I chose to reword them a little bit to give you a chance to respond to it. You've been asked by someone who came into the room and asked the question. You can answer the question as you see fit. No one's going to rebut your answer.
As I said before, yes, everybody who lives in Manchester, their records are out there for anybody to view. I don't think having a DUI in the past disqualified George Bush or Dick Cheney, who between the two of them had 3, and they seem to do all right. As far as knowing anything about underage sex parties or anything in relation to anything with that, I have no idea, and I don't know how to comment on that. I'm not sure really beyond that what to go into. I feel that some of these questions have been a little more personally directed, clearly, but that's what we're here for, so.
All right. Next question, please. Anyone else have a question? A different question. Thank you.
Commissioner Minnick, did you want us to,
Their answers to how they address those issues.
The questions were addressed to you as well. Go ahead and answer this question.
so I'll use my time again. I can't comment, on something to which I don't have any direct knowledge. And I can say, again, for the fact I haven't been arrested, DUI or otherwise. I think that maybe some of the questions and lack of experience are indicative of maybe not the, whether or not somebody should be, banished for life versus is suitable to be mayor right now. The rest of my time, I think I'd rather focus on the positives and what we've been able to achieve over the last 4 years. 4 years ago, we inherited a rather lackluster police department. We made several changes, including bringing a new police chief, a very community-minded police chief. Crime is down 27%. 2014, we had 0 violent crime. Manchester has 1.2% of the crime in Carroll County, and only 2.5% of the law enforcement are, uniformed officers. So the numbers really say Manchester's the safest place to live, work, and raise your family. In my mind, I think that it makes sense to continue with the same team that's been able to accomplish bringing Manchester to, really from the basement of a police department into, if we don't have the best chief and the best police department in Carroll County right now, at least on the municipal level, then I want to know who does.
Ms. Black?
Okay. Well, amen to that last comment. But I would say that I'm a nurse, and currently I work with a lot of folks that are suffering from addictions and drugs, and I'm very, very closely tied to our state's attorney's office and to our sheriff's office and to our Bureau of Prevention, Wellness, and Recovery. And I believe that Chief Hess is doing an excellent job of searching out and identifying and then bringing to justice problems that are drug and drug crime related. I think this is an important thing. We talk about being a very safe community, and we are, and we need to keep it that way. It's very important that we don't just say, oh, we're safe and we're a quiet community, because things happen in quiet communities, things I could never speak of on this platform. But I know those folks. I know the victims, and I know the one who has done the crime. And so I'm here to advocate for health and wholeness, for hope for Manchester. I'm here to encourage a strong police department. I'm here to support a strong emergency support service here in Carroll County through our fire, our rescue, so on. There's a lot to be done. We just can't sit idly by. We have to stay active on it. Even though things are good right now, we want to keep it that way.
Do we have any more questions from the audience? We're getting close to our time here. We do not. Now, I'd said something about summing up. Do you feel as though you have had the opportunity to sum up? Do you need 2 minutes each to sum up, or do you want to waive that? Mr. Tomlinson, I specifically said to you that you would have a chance to rebut the Sheets' remarks in any summing up. Do you want to visit that at this time?
Sure. Have I sat in on closed meetings with the Sheets Corporation? No, I have not. That's not a privilege I have. I just know what I sit in the council meetings and find out. I was at a council meeting, I believe in March, and the Sheets project was brought up, and what was said was what is currently holding up the project is the Sheets Corporation is was trying to purchase a little extra land from the Board of Ed. I have friends on the Board of Ed, and I went to them about this, asking, what's the holdup? And they got back to me, and they said there is no holdup. We told the Sheets Corporation years ago that was not an option. So, yes, I do have questions when I, sit in meetings and I hear that, one finger's being pointed at the Board of Ed, but then I go to the Board of Ed and they say they have nothing to do with it. It does leave a lot of questions as to what is the holdup on the project being completed.
Thank you. Mr. Warner.
So these closing remarks?
Yes, these would be,
this-
in the interest of time, we're going to close up here.
That was closing remarks as well?
Yes. You have something else to say? You have another, we shut you down 20 minutes shy, it's 20 seconds shy. You have something else to add? I thought you were finished. I apologize.
Sorry. Anyhow, we've seen what Councilman or Councilperson Black and Mayor Werner have been able to do. They have both been elected officials for a good while, 4 years, 16 years. We have seen what they can do, and if you're happy with what they do, then please vote them back in. But if you'd like to take a look at somebody with some fresh ideas and a new perspective, then please consider me.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by thanking again the Carroll Media Center, all the volunteers, the town staff, and each of you for coming in and listening. Also, thank you for your endorsement. If you are happy, then please continue to vote for strong leadership and for the town moving forward. I'd like to use a couple of my seconds to address that the Chiefs meetings are not closed meetings by and large. The Chiefs meetings are open meetings, which I agree you didn't attend, as well as many other meetings, including budget meetings. And additionally, the town, and again, I don't want to get too tit for tat here, but the town is working with the Board of Education and with the county school administration to help facilitate on a partnership level a deal with Sheets, the town of Manchester, and with the Carroll County Board of Education to make that work for everybody. So obviously, there's been some spirited debate here tonight, and I think that is good. It's good to get things out in the open, lay it out for the voters. The real good news is this really gives you a very clear picture of who the candidates are, what our past looks like, what our plans are for the future, and now it's really up to you. Right? It's up to the voters to decide what path do we want to go on, continue on, or change drastically over the next 4 years. So I hope that you'll consider voting for me. Be my pleasure to serve as mayor again. It's been an absolute thrill over the past 4 years and 12 years before that on the council. And I look forward to seeing each of you here on May 19th. Thank you again.
Ms. Black.
Thank you. It has been such a pleasure serving the past 4 years on the council, and I believe I am ready to step forward as the mayor of Manchester. I have been acknowledged both locally and within the state for my leadership skills, for my innovation, for the ability to pull people together and do things that have historically never been done before. And I would love the opportunity to do those things here in Manchester, to work with the staff, with all the folks that are working through the parks, the water, the maintenance, the fire department, police, everyone who makes this town so wonderful. I believe in teams. I believe in empowering teams and in leaders and businesses and individuals to do their absolute best. And I just look forward to that opportunity. So I look for your vote. I look for your support on May 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your attendance and for your participation.